You hear this?
Yeah.
I know you've been doing around the horn.
Yeah.
Ryan Harris is moving from right tackle to left tackle because Sambrailo can't play Sunday. Michael Schofield is going to start at right tackle. And we're still waiting to hear on whether or not Evan Mathis can play. He sat out yesterday with a bad hamstring.
Well, who would start there? Shelley Smith?
Probably Max Garcia, I would guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's a good question, though. How about that?
Well, I guess
Do you think Peyton Manning's going to be looking up at cloud formations all day?
Columbus, you only have one chance. You don't have a second chance to make a first impression. I guess that didn't go over well yesterday, that he wasn't inserted immediately in the lineup.
Columbus, yeah. Well, we were talking earlier. We think Columbus should start at right tackle because they don't seem to have any confidence in Michael Schofield.
Well, enough that they're putting him in the starting lineup based on what you're telling me.
All right. So then I
think that's only because he's been practicing with the team.
Who else is going to advocate for the devil? I will. Is Schofield starting at right tackle because the coaches want to see him there, or because the general manager wants to see him there?
Well, does that mean Cody Latimer starts as slot receiver?
No.
We get both those guys in there. Is there a place in football, like in baseball, where you could hide someone? In baseball, you hide a guy
in right
at left field.
Yeah.
It seems like in football, you can hide a guy at right tackle. They had problems last year.
Until they're exposed, like they were in the
last
Super
year
Bowl.
they had serious problems at right tackle. They still haven't solved that
If
problem.
you put Virgil Green over Schofield, you can't hide him. You're absolutely positively right. And
James Casey might get a little work this week.
Mike.
No.
Okay.
I think James Casey's going to be inactive again. That's what I think.
I won't take credit for this, but I do know that Troy Ring, our beat guy, our Denver Post beat guy that's out there every day, every time he goes up and asks somebody about Schofield, well, how's he coming along? The response always is, And that's all you need to know right there.
I think he's going to be on a real short leash.
Players know.
Real short leash.
You know, ball don't lie, and players know who can play and who can't.
Yep.
And so forget my opinion of Schofield, which isn't very high and could be wrong. If players are saying, like, I don't know about that, then that's as damning as it gets.
Well, I brought up, we never really got into it on the show, and I won't prolong this segment but their second and third round draft choices have been bad for the most part.
I would agree with you, and their later round draft choices have been really good. My theory on this is they try to be smarter than everybody else, which smart guys typically do. And so when they pick guys later in the draft that maybe aren't on somebody else's boards, they are high on the board, they make the right decision. I think they outthink themselves a little bit in the second and third round.
Is it possible that in the second and third round they are drafting for need, and that's when you stretch? But think about it. Cody Latimer, Mike Schofield were both second and third round draft picks.
Derek Wolfe.
Brock Osweiler, Derek Wolfe, Kayvon Webster, who hasn't become a starter for this team except for, and I sent you a list the other day. It was just stunning to me. You have to go back to two guys that left. Raheem Moore and Orlando Franklin were second and third round guys.
I think they take guys in the second and the third round that they should wait another round to take a chance on. I think they could have got Sambrailo in the third round this year. I don't know why they took him in the second round. Oh, I do know why, because they really think he's a player. And so they would rather get the guy that they really think is a player and make him a second round reach rather than risk losing him in the third round.
Could you have, we'll go back, we talk about Brock Osweiler all the time. You probably could have gotten him in the third round or fourth round.
You're taking more of a chance on a quarterback, though. You know quarterbacks, people reach
really
for, teams reach for quarterbacks.
Okay,
you know
but
that.
so here's my argument there. With Brock, okay, we know they love Brock. We know Elway still loves Brock, and we know that maybe Elway gets proved right with Brock.
Yeah, I don't know how fair you guys are being here. I really don't.
Fair?
Okay,
yeah,
but
because
that's
I think
not
it
my
takes,
job is to be fair.
I think it takes 2-3 years to figure out if a draft is a good one or not, and if a guy is a bust or not.
Sure.
And we're still, we need to see Schofield play, and we need to see Osweiler play. Derek Wolfe has become a pretty good run stuffer. In fact, I heard them talking this week. This is not a good game to not have Derek Wolfe. because you're going against Adrian Peterson.
Okay.
And Derek Wolfe is their best run stopper. That's what I heard from the Broncos this week.
Cody Latimer can't get on the field, though. And if you...
It's his second year.
But where did Benny Fowler...
And they've got 2 Pro Bowl wide receivers in front of them.
But Benny Fowler was ahead of them.
Emmanuel Sanders and Demarius Thomas.
Benny Fowler was nothing. And he was on the practice squad a year ago. And he was making catches against Detroit.
It's his second year.
Yeah.
So, and again...
If you can't play by the second year, you can't play.
We have both become columnists over the
years.
Wait,
hold.
We're not fair.
How about Sylvester Williams?
What about him?
What about him?
You just said if you can't play by your second year, you can't play. Sylvester Williams was not very good first or second year. This year, he's playing Pro Bowl caliber nose tackle.
Get
Pro Bowl
the heck out.
Right.
Sylvester Williams
he's playing very solid.
Just a guy.
He's playing very solid nose tackle.
Okay.
Very solid.
I'll give him that. He's not a player.
That's not a fair statement, Mark.
No, it is a fair statement, because if you draft in the second or third round and you want to win a Super Bowl, those guys better be Pro Bowl players every once in a while, and none of them are. Orlando Franklin was a good find, but so good that they let him go. Raheem Moore was a good find, such a good find that if he'd been off the field, they'd have a Super Bowl ring right now that they don't have.
Hold on. He drafted 3 guys in the second and third round 5 years ago. Raheem Moore, Orlando Franklin, and Nate Irving. And all 3 of them are not only still in the league, they're all starters. Not for the Broncos, but they're all starters.
They're not difference makers.
How many?
Unless you count the play that made all the difference between the Broncos.
So you just want him to draft all Pro Bowlers in the second and third round. Who does that?
Okay, but you can go back and look at what I wrote and said at the time, not after the draft, before the draft. And I said, and you can be there in the room when I was, and I knew they liked Levante David, and Levante David was picked the pick after Brock Osweiler.
He's a great player.
Okay, so even a knucklehead like myself, once out of 5 years, can find a Pro Bowler in the second round. And you can go back, and I only wrote it 15 times. And he wouldn't play if Peyton Manning's here. But here's what you do in the second round. You like Brock Osweiler. They also liked Russell Wilson. That's a fact. And I love the guy. So you pass on Brock, you take Levante David, and you hope either Brock or Russell Wilson's available in the third round. That's how you draft.
That makes sense. Look, they're not infallible, okay?
No.
And we are completely ignoring the fact that he's been pretty damn good. Maybe the best general manager in the game in free agency over the last 5 years.
He's been great.
Okay?
I'm not arguing that.
But tell me, even with Sylvester Williams, when you draft in the first round, the guy should be a starter in the first couple of years, but tell me, of all those guys that we talked about in the second and third round, how many of them have become starters? How many of them will ever be Pro Bowlers? I mean, you talk about Orlando Franklin all day long. He's never going to be in the Pro Bowl. Raheem Moore's never going to be in the Pro Bowl. Derek Wolfe's never going to be in the Pro Bowl. Sylvester Williams, despite what you claim, is not going to be in the Pro Bowl this year. He's lost in the middle of that defense. None of those guys. Brock Osweiler's never going to be a Pro Bowl quarterback. I've seen enough of him over 4 years in exhibition games to tell you he's going to be Brian Greasy. He's going to be a tall Brian Greasy.
I'd say that's fair.
Look, I get it. The second and third rounds have been questionable.
He's been good in.
I get it.
He's been good in free agency.
Yes.
He's been great late in the draft.
Yes.
So, but
he's hit on a few in the first round of the draft as well. So you're asking for perfection, is what you're asking for.
No.
Show me a general manager or a franchise that's been perfect in all those categories. There are a number of ways to build a team, guys. He's built some pretty damn good teams over the last few years.
I agree.
Is there room for criticism? Absolutely.
Well, that's what we're doing. There's room for. I remember covering,
and I think it's fair criticism.
I covered the Packers when the Packers Super Bowl over the Steelers several years
2010?
Yeah. I think it was in Tampa Bay. And I went through and looked. They had combined something on the order of 48 guys that they drafted that were starters.
Fantastic team when it comes to that.
So
Seattle as well.
Was that perfect? Yeah, that was pretty perfect. I think Seattle, that was pretty perfect what they did, finding guys from top to bottom in their draft.
The difference between winning a Super Bowl and almost winning a Super Bowl is how many guys you hit early in the draft.
Yeah,
and so he's been good at free agency and good late in the draft. But second and third round, he hasn't been good.
I'll take his first rounders. and I'll say that. But then, yes, it's the guys down here and the guys who are free agents. You know, the string is actually not alive anymore of free agents making the team, but they're free agents. They have been great at going out and get free agents.
One Pro Bowler after
Emmanuel
another.
Sanders is one of the greatest free agents in the history of the league, I think.
I would agree.
Based on
props to
year
Elway
and
for
3 or
that.
4 games.
Peyton Manning wasn't too bad either.
And I will give Elway this. I was not impressed with Bradley Roby as a college player, and I saw him play a lot.
And
he's been a very good football
I think he
player.
was the best of all of the secondary guys drafted in the first round.
And I will say this, and I say it to Bradley Roby's face, and he would be mad at me if I say it, and every time I say it. If he just moves from corner to, if he becomes a free safety, he could be a Hall of Fame.
He'll be great.
He could be a Hall of Fame.
I so agree with that.
And he will.
He is a ball hawk.
Yes,
Yes,
that's his job.
absolutely.
That's what he does best.
Yeah.
And he will be.
Okay.
He will be.
All right.
He is Billy Thompson-like, and that's for
Yeah.
old
All right.
timers. Billy Thompson came in, was a cornerback for a couple of years, went to safety and became a Pro Bowl safety. Yeah.
Enough of you guys bashing John Elway. Go buy a Cadillac from him right now.